All right, Katie, and Sue, welcome to everybody. Welcome to all of our guests for this edition of the Healing Arts Podcast. Today's special presentation we have as our guest Miss Katie Jenkins of Cleveland NAMI, and she'll be talking with us about some resources for healing. So please enjoy this presentation and look to this site frequently for updates in terms of what we're discussing with the healing arts. I now turn things over to my partner, Sue Johnson.
Hi there, Katie Jenkins. Again, this is Sue. I'm the director of Wake Up and Lives Actor Studio, and this is Judy Allen, my co-coordinator. We work as a team to bring this project, which addresses mental health, which addresses using the arts in helping to soothe people hurting with mental health issues. And so tell us exactly, Katie, what is your position at NAMI and what are you responsible for there?
Yes, absolutely. So I am the executive director of NAMI Greater Cleveland. And unfortunately, that means I'm responsible for everything. I am very blessed, though, to have 11 amazing staff people that work with me to help carry out our mission. And to make sure that we are improving the lives of those who are affected by mental health in the county.
And yes, NAMI is quite an old established organization. As I was saying, I don't know, maybe it was to you on the phone earlier, but I became aware of the name over 20, 30 years ago when I think his last name was Such. I worked with Ray, not worked with him, but he was in our building doing things with NAMI. So exactly what kinds of mental health issues does NAMI tend to address? And is it multicultural? Do you focus on Black issues, any minority? And now, of course, with all this new stuff with the equity, diversion, and inclusion, also the all the letters, all LBGQT. What kind of programs does NAMI have to help folks?
So our programs run the gamut. We absolutely are a justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion informed organization, or JEDI, if that's easier for you. And our services target anyone who is affected by mental health conditions. And so that means not only those individuals who have a diagnosis, but also the individuals that love them, their family, their friends, their neighbors, whatever that may look like. And we do that through entirely free programs, thanks to the sponsorship of our donors in the community, as well as several amazing funders like the Cuyahoga County Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board. And what makes us unique, other than being free, is that we do everything through the lens of lived experience. And so our support groups are led by individuals who are not clinical, but have lived through whatever adversity they've had to live through, whether it was getting a diagnosis and finding recovery, or it was supporting somebody in that process. So, like, for example, I myself am somebody who has had a diagnosis of depression and anxiety since the age of 19. So I can provide support services and educational programs to individuals that have a diagnosis, but I'm also the daughter of somebody who has a mental health diagnosis. So I can provide programming to families, and using that lens of whatever our experiences are allows us to sit in the trenches with the people that we serve in a way that a lot of times clinical staff aren't able to. We can share our experiences anecdotally. We can say what has worked and what hasn't worked for us. And so it's a very unique dynamic that we get to have with the people we serve.
Okay. And now, do people come to your office? Do you go out to homes? Where are you located in Cleveland?
Yeah, so we are in the, I'm gonna mess the name up, the Fancy Bank building across from West Side Market.
Oh, you're on like West 25th area,
We are in
Carnegie
Ohio
area.
City, yep,
Okay.
the corner of West 25th and Lorraine. That is where our offices are, but our services are provided still a little bit virtually because of the pandemic. We found that that model works for a lot of people, and so we'll always have a virtual option available. But also going into the community where the individuals we serve live. So we have programs just down the street in the West Bank of the Flats. We have programs in Beechwood, trying to remember what other communities, Strongsville maybe, but we're all over the county and trying to expand even more into other areas.
Okay, and with your services, do you have does the organization have a tendency to work more with, say, one type of mental illness? Because the more Judy and I and the rest of our team work on this, we all got mental illness of some form or another. But do you
Yeah.
find with your services that you tend to address a particular type of illness more so than others, or is it spread across the board?
So we work with anybody that wants to work with us. And so we have a helpline. A lot of individuals will call in through the helpline to get linked to services. And that's one way that people come into the organization. But also, mental health knows no boundaries. It knows no race, color, age, or anything like that. And so there are so many different diagnoses and different levels of wellness in each diagnosis. The only thing that we don't necessarily do is people who are in severe crisis. So individuals who are considering self-harm or having suicidal thoughts. We are not the experts on that. We forward that to the individuals who are in our community. But we serve anybody.
Okay.
Katie, do you have an overall definition of what mental health is? Today, it seems to encompass a very wide range, whereas typically, when people would talk about mental health, they meant schizophrenia or bipolar, manic depression, acute depression. So, how would you and NAMI define it?
So, the previous moniker of mental illness, we're kind of getting away from that because, yes, it's a condition, just like any other heart disease or cholesterol or diabetes. And we don't define those as like heart illness. It's a heart condition. And so mental health conditions are the totality of our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. And we find when individuals have a mental health diagnosis that is disruptive to their life, that one of those, if not all of those things, go out of whack. And so, we all have mental health. We all want to have good mental health. But having a mental health condition that affects those three areas is what, the individuals that we work with. Although we all, after this pandemic that we've been going through, I don't know anybody who hasn't experienced some sort of poor mental health.
Speaking of, you don't directly service imminent suicide or threats of that. So what kind of organizations, if you get a call, do you refer candidates to for help?
Yes. So it really just depends on the severity of the situation. We have worked really closely with Frontline Services located in Cuyahoga County. They actually previously had a community crisis suicide prevention hotline, but then with the creation of 988 last summer, Frontline continues to provide that service. So anybody who calls 988 gets linked with a trained telecommunicator or operator who
Mhm.
is able to provide them support through that severity of a crisis. So we have the ability to do a warm handoff. So in other words, we can do a direct transfer. We can do a conversation with the person that we're transitioning them to kind of bring them up to speed, and then hand off the individual. Depending on, like I said, the severity, if it's something where that person is in imminent danger, at that point, we're contacting the police and the
That's
mobile
good.
crisis services, because we don't ever want anybody to make a permanent decision based on a temporary situation. And unfortunately, that's what often happens with suicide.
Right. And with now in your teenage clientele, are you finding what is their status? Are they increasing in needing services? What's going on with our younger folks needing mental health help?
Yeah, so we have a very limited number of programs that interact with youth here at Greater Cleveland, but we know statistically there is a huge uptick in suicide. It's the second leading cause of death between the ages of 12 and 25, I believe, is that age range, which is a lot. And we've seen huge statistical upticks in the suicide rates in specifically Black youth over the last 3 years. And I know a lot of that has to do with the social emotional growth that they've experienced, or the lack of, as a result of the pandemic. A lot of that has to do with the adults not being okay. It trickles down.
Mhm.
When when the adults aren't okay, then the kids have a hard time being okay. Um, but absolutely, I can't tell you the number of kids that are in crisis out there that either don't have a trusted adult that they can speak to about it,
Mhm.
or their trusted adult doesn't necessarily know the resources or the steps to take to help them.
And for people who now, if they hadn't already known about you, what's the best way for them to reach you to get help from NAMI
Absolutely.
for their issues?
So our very first suggestion is always our helpline. That number is 216-875-7776. And actually that helpline is so important that any call that comes to our organization goes through that helpline. So like when you've called in, you've spoken to our helpline operators,
Mhm.
because oftentimes they are the first line of defense for anybody in our community. And very often they can answer any questions that somebody may have first off. Our website and our social media are also very active. So our website's www.namigreatercleveland.org. And of course we have a Facebook, a LinkedIn, a Twitter,
Sure, who doesn't
Instagram.
these days? Yeah. Well, we
We have
don't
all
have
those,
yeah,
we
we
have all
don't
those
have
things.
Instagram. Yeah. Um, so there are plenty of ways to reach
Yes.
you if somebody needs help. Now, within your programming, since we are kind of working on the arts focus about how mental health organizations can help address using the arts as a way to help people with healing, such as you have music therapy, drama therapy,
Mhm.
art therapy. Does NAMI offer those kinds of activities to help address the problem?
We do. We have a couple different support groups, and we have an art therapy support group. We have a poetry journaling support group. We have a book club support group, and I don't know if you would consider reading an art form, but I
Oh,
believe it is.
good heavens, yes, it's in the arts. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Um, and we try to engage in various activities and opportunities of education that allow for us to expand people's thoughts about what is mental health care. So we do offer webinars and community education around that. And actually, this coming Saturday, the 17th, we're going to be hosting our second annual Hope and, Mike, which is a 3-hour event that's going to be happening in Wade Oval that is put on through a variety of artists, whether it's the spoken word or movement or song. We have a large number of people that are coming to that, which is really exciting. We haven't been able to do it ever in person. And we haven't been able to do it since 2020 because of the pandemic. And so we're really excited.
Can you
Katie, what
tell
is
us?
it about the arts that enables people in need to heal? I mean, can you express, generally speaking, the
So
connection between the arts and mental health healing?
absolutely. So I think that one of the things that, and I can't speak, I know I've read these things. I can't say where I've read them, but I know that engaging in activities related to arts, drawing, singing, whatever that may be, has a positive impact on your blood pressure. It can lower your blood pressure and lower your pulse and put you into a resting state physically. I know that creation, having the opportunity to create whatever it may be that you're creating, is amazing for confidence. It's amazing for that sense of accomplishment. But also it gets that icky stuff out of you. You put it down on paper, you put it wherever you happen to be putting it, into the air, and it's one more way to communicate your thoughts and feelings without having to verbalize them.
Okay. Yeah, that's exciting. And we've begun to talk to several individuals from from different organizations. And yes, indeed, the idea is if people experiencing mental health issues can get it out via whatever mechanism, paper, uh,
Mhm.
camera, short storytelling, spoken word, movement, that for
Poetry.
that, yeah, that helps get it out of you and um, into the therapeutic situations. Uh, Judy, do you have any questions or comments?
Katie, would you tell us once again the date and time of the event at Wade
Oh,
Oval?
Yes,
yes,
that that is June 17th. It is 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. and it is called Hope and Mike.
and what does that stand for? Hope and Mike,
So it's Hope and Mike.
Like a microphone.
Like
like a
open,
microphone?
like open mic, but with hope.
Oh, I got you. Understood. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Do
yeah,
people have to pre-register or just come?
people can just come, and that's actually what we're anticipating happening. But we have been doing a a registration through Eventbrite. Tickets are free, but people are registering for updates and whatnot. And currently we have over 220 people registered to attend with us.
Wow,
So that, combined with hopefully good weather, and the location with all of the museums and whatnot, we're really hoping for a big turnout.
that sounds fantastic. Now, what kind of different organizations are supplying the event with their performances and whatever else they're doing?
Yes. So I know some of the organizations that are attending include Second Act. They are a acting troupe, I believe, locally.
Mhm.
We also have local mental health organizations joining us. We have a community partner called the Cope Network. She
Mhm.
does the Cope Box, which is a resource of coping tools for youth that she creates with them in the community. Um,
Well, those are a couple of good examples.
Yeah, there's
Of,
so many that are
there's
good.
so
We have
many,
17
right?
community partners setting up tables.
Yeah,
So in addition to all of the people that are registered, we also have 17 community partners that'll be there.
that sounds wonderful. Now, typically, do you have a prescribed length of time that people can take advantage of your services, depending on if you have a specific program for a specific service, or people can just come as long as they feel they need your kind of help through
Yep.
NAMI.
Absolutely. People can just come. We are always open and available to anybody who needs those services, whether you've been with us for 20 years or you've been with us for 20 minutes. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And the great thing, besides being free, I'll say that again, we're free, is that, you know, we kind of provide our services in a way that can be anonymous should the individual choose to be. We don't
Oh.
ask for insurance information. You know, we'd love to have your demographic information for, you know, grant reporting purposes.
Yes.
And we'd love to include you in future mailings. But if you choose not to tell us your name or you choose not to tell us your contact information, that is entirely your choice.
Well, Katie, this has been absolutely marvelous. Chock full of information about the services of NAMI and about all the ways you can help someone's hurting from mental health issues. And as I said, from once we began this project, I'm sure I got all kinds of issues and everybody else does too. So now with the phone, would you give the phone number again for NAMI
Yes.
for people to call in, both the regular and the helpline?
Yes. So our helpline is 216-875-7776. And you can reach anybody in the office utilizing that number. But if you want to call the office line, that is 216-875-0266.
Okay, good enough. Well, we want to certainly thank you. You've taught me a couple of names of organizations I wasn't aware of, but there are so many. When I look at the list of, sometimes we're blessed and we're granted an award by Cuyahoga Arts and Culture,
Yeah.
the Ohio Arts Council. And when I look at the numbers of nonprofit organizations who are providing services, it's phenomenal. So what is, other than Saturday coming up for the special event, as we begin to close out, what else is in your pipeline in terms of special events, activities, what have you?
Yeah, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Hope and Mike is being sponsored by CAC. So the Cuyahoga Arts Council
Oh, yeah,
is our sponsor for that event. You know, we have one other really big event that we do every year. That's our walk. And it's called NAMI Walks. We do it at Edgewater Park. This year is September 23rd. It's a little bit less than a 5K. I think it's a 2.5K, whatever that is.
Okay, yeah.
And it's a great opportunity for the community to come together. We give community organizations the opportunity to have resource tables. This last year, we had over 750 individuals join us for that day.
Wow.
We're aiming for 1,000 this year. I'm really hoping we can do it. But you know, the whole purpose of the day is to show people that they're not alone, that there are hundreds, as we know, thousands, millions of people out there who are experiencing similar situations, similar anxieties, similar feelings of isolation, whatever that may be. And that walk that day is really a moment of hope and joy in the community that we serve.
That is beautiful. So, and that'll be up on your website,
Yes.
announcing about the event that one coming up in the future. So,
Absolutely.
Judy, as we begin to close out, is there anything you'd like to ask or add as we thank Katie for her conversation?
No, nothing on my part. The information Katie has shared with us is just absolutely invaluable. NAMI is a wonderful resource, and I hope that our healing arts viewers will avail themselves of what NAMI has to offer and also contribute as supporters.
That sounds fantastic. I couldn't have said it better myself. So, Katie, we want to thank you very, very much. I look forward to someday meeting you in person. Because, well, you know, nowadays everybody has to Zoom stuff left over from the pandemic, which works well. So thank you with all of your information about NAMI. And we'll see you soon. And this will be up on the YouTube and our website as well in the very near future. Feel free to share it with your social media lists, and we'll help spread the word about your organization.
Thank you so much, ladies, for having me.
Well, we're
Thank you.
blessed.
It's been
Thank
our
you.
pleasure.
You
And
have a
take
great
care, everybody.
afternoon.
You too.
Bye-bye.